Hey, what's going on everyone? Sean here, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to play SPYRAL. Now, SPYRAL is Konami's answer to Metal Gear Solid and Jinx when combined. They're a archetype which is all about learning and gathering intelligence about your opponent in order to disrupt them and break their boards and interrupt their plays and win the game. So, we're going to be talking about SPYRAL overall and talk about how you can play this deck in Legacy of the Duelist. Now, SPYRAL is a very dominant deck and it's a very powerful deck. I actually think this is a very top tier level strategy, one of the best if not the best strategy in the game. This is not an easy deck to play, so if you are new, I know there's a lot of beginners to my channel, if you are very new to this game you might want to come back to this deck later on, or if you're at least a little bit curious, feel free to carry on watching, but this will be a little bit of a complicated archetype, because today we are building a combo style deck, and combo decks are usually harder to understand than generic decks. So let's get on with the starters. Now, the main primary goal for SPYRALs is to get 2 SPYRAL monsters onto the board so you can make your double helix. But while you are doing that, your secondary goal is also to make sure you get access to either SPYRAL Quick Fix or SPYRAL Master Plan in the process of trying to get your 2 monsters to your board. And what I might mean by getting access to them, I mean you must have them on the field, they must be in your graveyard, maybe even in your hand. It doesn't matter, as long as they're not in your deck anymore and you have a way to then summon them out, they will then fuel all of your extenders and allow you to continuously repeat your effects and combo off. So that is your primary goal. So we're trying to get 2 SPYRAL monsters on the board, but also trying to get access to Master Plan and Quick Fix. So, first of all, our first starter here is Magician Souls, which we play at 3. And Magician Souls does just that. It allows you to send a level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the graveyard to summon this card to the field. This puts Master Plan in the graveyard, which is exactly one of the places where you want this card to be, so you can revive her later on and get her effects off. So Magician Souls is really good for that. However, why Magician Souls is also really amazing in SPYRAL is because he has an ability to send up to 2 spells and traps from your hand and or the field to the graveyard to draw that many cards. And in SPYRAL, your SPYRAL mission cards, which are Mission Assault, Mission Rescue, which we play at 2, and yeah, the 1 Assault, that's all we play. We're not playing Recapture. As long as we these cards are in the graveyard, they then become extenders which you can use to summon out your monsters from either your hand or your graveyard respectively. So these become your extenders. So Magician's Souls is an amazing starter that gets your extenders exactly where you need them to be, and that is to be in your graveyard. Now, because Magician Souls is so important, we play cards that help search her out too, such as 1 for 1 and Wear Off Down. If you don't know what Wear Off Down does, it says if you control a face-up level 1 monster, add 1 level 1 monster from your deck to your hand. During the end phase of the turn, you take 2000 burn damage if you did not normal summon the added number or a monster with the same name after activating this card. The burn damage is negligible. Life points don't matter in Yu-Gi-Oh! As long as you are still alive, you can still fight and you can still try to win the game. And in a combo deck like this, if your combo goes off successfully, you're pretty much going to just win the game anyway, so taking the 2000 burn damage isn't really too much of a problem for you. But while Wear Off Down can also search out Magician Souls, it can also search out many other level 1s in this deck, and we have about 13 overall, including SPYRAL Quick Fix, 2 DD Crows, if I go to the top here, 2 DD Crows, 3 Effect Veilers, 3 Jester Confits, and 1 SPYRAL Gear Drone. So you have a lot of level 1s in this deck. Now, like how Magician Souls can send your SPYRAL mission cards to the graveyard, we also play 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods that can also send them directly to the graveyard, which is where you want them to be. Last but not least, in terms of starters, we'll talk about Quick Fix in extenders. It's easier to group it in that section, but it is a starter. Let's talk about Pot of Extravagance and SPYRAL Resort. Now, SPYRAL Resort also is a card which you don't necessarily want to use as a starter. You want to use this as an extender because it is searchable with SPYRAL Master Plan, and unfortunately you are only allowed to play 1 of these. So if you want to go really well plus with this deck, you want it to sit in your deck and then search it out with Master Plan later on, who will provide you to all your extenders and kind of use it in that way. But in case you draw it early, SPYRAL Result simply says once per turn you can add 1 SPYRAL monster from your deck to your hand. Great. It's a really great searcher, searches out any one of your monsters, and it really facilitates your plays. Now we also play Pot of Extravagance. Now Pot of Extravagance kind of conflicts with Magician's Souls in a way where you can't use her draw effect if you use Pot of Extravagance because it says you cannot draw for the rest of the turn. But it's kind of like an insurance factor. Because you're playing a combo deck, you just need to get enough resources out of your deck in order to win the game, and as long as you are keeping on drawing, you're always going to have more resources, and you're always going to be able to try to combo. So I like playing Pot of Extravagance in this deck because it's a good way to kind of play through Disruption. So let's say, for example, you play Pot of Extravagance and your opponent has Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs, and you haven't got a way to stop it resolving, then Pot of Extravagance will get negated, but then you can still fall back on Magician's Souls to provide you the draw power you need. Whereas if you only have Magician's Souls and they got ashed, then you would be, you have no other ways to draw more cards from your deck. I hope that makes sense. So, now we're going to go into the extenders for the deck, and here is where the cream of the crop in the deck really goes. So, like I said, I wanted to talk about Quick Fix and Quick Fix here because I want to talk about how Quick Fix works alongside Master Plan. Now, Quick Fix is a search for your deck for all cards that are called Spiral Gear, and in the archetype there is Spiral Gear, Big Red, Drone, Fully Armed, and Last Resort. However, and Utility Wire. However, in this deck we only play Big Red, Drone, Last Resort, and Utility Wire. We don't play any others. And if you want to think about what the gears are, they're like your accessories for your spies to use. So Quick Fix kind of supplies your monsters with your accessories. Whereas Master Plan searches out the Spiral Mission cards, which are Assault, Recapture, and Rescue. And like I said, the whole goal with these cards is to put them in the graveyard so they can be used as extenders to summon cards from your hand to the field in the case of Assault, or summon monsters from your graveyard to the field in the case of Rescue. And yeah, these cards are bonkers. They're not hard once per turns. They are kind of like Lunalight cards in a way where you can just abuse them so many times over and over, and so as long as you get them to the graveyard, you are laughing. Now, so that's the main point of Master Plan and Quick Fix. Now, the beautiful thing about Master Plan and Quick Fix is that both of those searching effects are not once per turn effects. They are soft once per turn effects, which means if they leave the field and then come back, you can repeatedly use these effects again and again and again. And that's the whole point of this deck, is you want to summon these cards to the field, use their effects, add more cards, and then do something with them, and then get them back to the field again, so you can keep on generating more resources. And that's why we use a lot of Link summons for this deck. For example, with Quick Fix, if you get it to the field, you can make Link Karibo, send it to the graveyard, and then bring it back later on. Furthermore, Master Plan and Quick Fix also have a second effect, which also works as an extender. In Quick Fix's case, if this card is in your graveyard and you control Spiral Super Agent, which is this card here, you can then discard one card and special summon it back, but banish it when it leaves the field. So this will then trigger its effect and get you more Spiral Gear cards. Being able to discard cards is really nice in this deck because there's a way that you can get the mission cards from your hand to the graveyard, so that's also really nice to do as well. Whereas Master Plan says when she leaves the field, when she goes from the field to the graveyard, she can, as I already told you, add one Spiral Resort and then add any other Spiral monster from your deck to your hand. And that +2 is really, really nice. So that's kind of why you always want Resort to be in your deck and never really want to use it as a starter. Now, other than that, other starters, extenders we have here are Jester Convict. Jester Convict is a level 1 monster which is searchable with Wrath down, and it just simply says you can special summon this card in attack position. It's just an easy way to get a level 1 monster on the board, and you can use it to facilitate and help you do your either rank 1 plays or make your XE's monster, your Link monsters, if you need an extra card to do so. So it's a really, really versatile and easy card to play. You have Monster Reborn, it's Monster Reborn, but like Monster Reborn, we also have the Spiral Gear card, Spiral Big Red, which is the same as Monster Reborn, but only for Spiral cards, and it's a quick spell that targets one and summons it from the graveyard. But unlike something like Premature Burial, if this card leaves the field, it doesn't destroy the monster, and if it stays on the field with the card that it's equipped to, that monster cannot be destroyed by battle, so it's a bit of protection as well. So it's a bit superior than Premature Burial as well. Now, deliberately, I've left Drone and Super Agent to the end because there's another unique effect about the way spirals work, and that is, like I said in the introduction of this video, is that they all are about intelligent gathering. They want to get information about your opponent in order to formulate your strategies and counter them or accurately. So Spiral Gear Drone says when it is normal or special summon, you can look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and if you do, place them on the top of the deck in any order. Now you may be wondering, why would you on earth does that matter? Why would you care about knowing, other than just gathering information, why would you care about stacking your opponent's deck? Well, the reason why you want to do that is to combine it with things like Super Agent, whose effect is if you declare one card type while this card is in your hand, you can reveal the top card of your opponent's deck, and if you called it correctly, you can special summon this card from your hand to the field. And that's really, really nice. It's a free extender, free summon, and it's a 1900 beater as well. Now, he's not the only card that has that effect, and that brings us onto our main link 2, Spiral Double Helix. Spiral Double Helix is an amazing card because one, when it comes to the field, it changes its name to Super Agent, which allows you to do certain effects such as support Quick Fix a bit better. But also, it has this similar effect where if you declare one card type from the top of your opponent's deck and call it correctly, you can special summon any Spiral monster from your deck. You can take any Spiral monster from your deck or graveyard and either add it to your hand or summon it to a zone this card points to. It's a very, very versatile card. It gets you resources from your graveyard or your deck, and you can either choose to summon it or put it back to your hand. A really, really solid card. And once you've kind of fulfilled your game plan here, you kind of always want to have your Spiral Super Agent on the board. So you kind of want to keep this card on the board as realistically as possible for your game. Now, moving on, the only other cards which I'll maybe consider as extenders for this deck are your Nightmare Unicorn and Nightmare Phoenix. If you ever go online and you look at other people's Spiral deck profiles that maybe were in the TCG before April 2020, you're probably going to see them play a card called Barricade Ball Blocker, which unfortunately isn't in the game because it's a TCG exclusive. And the reason why people play that is because we lack the ability to discard some of our Spiral cards so they are in the graveyard, particularly speaking the Spiral Mission cards. Now, Nightmares can kind of fulfill that purpose as well. So Nightmares, but they can only really do it when they're going second realistically. So they provide you a way just to discard a card from your hand and also destroy a card on the field. And they're also solid forms for removal nonetheless. Finally, let's talk about those rank 1s and why we play rank 1s here. So in the terms of Spiral Quick Fix, the downside with Spiral Quick Fix is if this card summons itself back to the field via its own effect, it will then banish itself the next time it leaves the field, and that's really unfortunate because you don't always want to banish Quick Fix until you've gotten basically every single Spiral Gear card out of your deck. Now, a way you can avoid this card from banishing itself is to cause it to never leave the field directly. If you use it with another level 1 to make a rank 1 monster, it will be attached to it as a material, and then when you detach it as a material, it will not be banished because it wasn't technically on the field anymore, it was being used as a material, and therefore it will not get banished when it gets to the graveyard. So it's a way of kind of protecting your Quick Fix. But these cards aren't just vanilla monsters, they do have okay effects as well, whereas Recital Starling allows you to search out one level 1 Wing Beast monster from your deck to your hand, which is why we play DD Crow in this deck, because you can search it and then hold it in your hand to provide some disruption for your opponent. And then you can also have Sylvan Princess Sprite, who says take the top card of your own deck, and if it's a spell and trap card, you get to add it to your hand. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard. It's not a great effect, it's not amazing, but sometimes it can get you a free card, so yeah, she's not too bad, but really, the whole point of playing rank 1s is there to work with Quick Fix and stop it from getting itself banished. So now let's talk about removal for this deck. Spirals have a variety of removal, but first we've already talked about DD Crow, which can be searched and you can use it to banish cards on your opponent's graveyard. Super Agent. If Super Agent is special summoned by the effect of a Spiral card, whether that is its own effect, Double Helix, Big Red, or one of your mission cards, he gets to then destroy a spell or trap card on the board. So it's a really nice card. Then we've got his little brother, Spiral Tough, and Spiral Tough is got better stats than Spiral Super Agent, and when it comes to the field, his name becomes the Super Agent. But his effect is a little bit different, and that is you can target any card your opponent controls, do the same effect, declare one card type, and if you call it correctly, you can destroy that card type. Now, while he's a lot more versatile than his big brother Super Agent, he can't special summon himself to the field, which is why we only really play one Spiral Tough, but he is a very good versatile form of removal. Then we also play Spiral Gear Utility Wire. This is a searchable form of removal, and while you have Spiral Super Agent on the field, you can choose one card your opponent controls and place it on top of their deck. Really nice and versatile removal card that is also searchable for your deck. Now, we've already talked about Unicorn and Phoenix being in this deck, but we also play 2 copies of Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, because this is a very easy card to make at full power in this deck because you're playing your level 7 Master Plan. And I like this card. I think this is a very versatile card. I think it's better in the Legacy of the Duelist environment than Borrow Sword and Borrow Load. I think it kind of fits that role of being a bomb, but also as a removal card. And I just really like Blackluster Soldier. I think you can't go wrong with this card overall. Defensive card. There is one more card I need to add in for defense here. Let me just add it in very quickly. It is Triple Call by the Grave. I forgot to put that in. So for defense, we got Hand Traps, Event Failure, level 1 monster. It's searchable. It gives you some negation as well. Call by the Grave. Protect yourself from hand traps. Don't let your opponent get those hand traps like Ash Blossom off on you. So you play Call by the Grave to negate those. Big Red, like I said earlier, can protect your monster. Any card it's equipped to will be protected from being destroyed by battle, which can be nice but doesn't happen very often. But Spiral Resort is very nice as well, where this card says your opponent cannot target other Spiral cards you control with card effects, so it gives your monsters targeted effect immunity, which is really nice. Now, Utility Wire can also be used defensively because it's a trap card, and our main form of defense, or our main negator, is Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. This card is amazing. This card is what makes this deck such a big threat, because when you're going first, you can easily summon this card with 3 or 4 materials, and so she can get up to 3 or 4 monster negates and protect you from hand traps, any monster effect like Nibiru. Just a really solid monster effect negation card overall. So in terms of bombs, you're going to see some gameplay in a minute, and I'll show you exactly what Spirals is trying to do when they're trying to build their board. But realistically, you're trying to get as many of these bomb cards on the field and trying to use their effects so that you can just dominate your opponent and outpace them in terms of resources. And so, first of all, we have Spiral Gear Drone, which doesn't use this effect very often, but is there as an option, and that is, you contribute this card and then target one Spiral monster you control. It will gain 500 attack for each card your opponent controls. So it can give your monster a really nice attack boost, but you don't use this effect very often, so it's kind of a bomb, but not really, to be honest with you. It's morely just so you can look at their extra deck, their deck and stack it. Then we have our main bomb, which is the Sleeper Last Resort combo. Spiral Sleeper is their big boss monster, and this says you must be special summoned by banishing 3 Spiral cards from your graveyard. And so you want to get this card as late as into your combo as possible, so you can banish cards which have already done their job, and you're not going to get back from the graveyard for his cost to summon. And then his effect is really awesome. That is, once per turn during either player's turn, you can target 1 Spiral card you control and up to 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy them. It's a really good interrupting card that can destroy multiple cards in your opponent's field at any point in time. Now, there is a downside to this card, and that is if this card on the field is destroyed by a battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you must destroy as many cards as you control as possible, and if you do, special summon 1 Spiral Super Agent from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Now, that downside is quite big, but when you combine this card with the card Spiral Gear Last Resort, you almost don't ever have to worry about that card's effect. And Spiral Gear Last Resort works kind of like a union monster, but isn't a union monster. And that says you can target 1 Spiral monster you control, equip this monster from your hand or field to that target, and while this card is equipped to a monster by this effect, the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Also, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. Now, this is really nice because it absolutely just says the effect where it says if this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, it says that cannot happen while you have Last Resort equipped to Sleeper. So what's nice about this is that Sleeper can even target itself to destroy it with its own card effect, and you won't actually lose a card because he's protected by a Last Resort effect. Now, Last Resort, so if your opponent wants to get rid of this card, they have to destroy Last Resort first. But what's really awesome is that if you happen to have Spiral Resort on the board, they can't target any other card, Spiral card you control with card effects either. So that makes even Last Resort even harder to get rid of overall. So it's a really nice combo, and this combined with Appaloosa, or this combined with Blackluster Soldier, can kind of almost just deal with any board and just get rid of a ton of your opponent's cards. And so that's Spiral overall. Spiral aims to make a big board using these cards, and so let's go through the deck profile overall. So in terms of starting from levels, we have our level 1 monsters being double DD Crow, triple Effect Veiler, triple Jester Confit, triple Souls, 1 Drone, 1 Quick Fix, and for our rest of monsters, we have Last Resort at 1, Super Agent at 2, Tough at 1, Master Plan at 2, and Sleeper at 1. Then for spells, we have 3 Called by the Grave, double Foolish Burial Goods, 1 Monster Reborn, 1 for 1, triple Extravagance, 2 Big Red, 1 Assault, 1 Resort, triple Wear Off Thou, 1 Utility Wire, and double Rescue. And then for your extra deck, we're playing multiples of the same card because we're playing Extravagance. So we have 1 Recital Starling, 1 Sylvan Princess Sprite, 1 Link Karibo, double Phoenix, triple Double Helix, double Soldier of Chaos, double Unicorn, and triple Appaloosa. Now there is a lot you can change with this deck, and you can modify it to however you feel is better. I've tried to make this as best as possible for the Legacy of the Duelist single online ranked environment. However, if you were playing maybe more matches, you could change some of the cards, and so a lot of the level 1 cards you can have up here can be changed out. For example, you might want to play Draw and Lockbird instead if you want another level 1 hand trap, so you have a lot of hand traps that you can use to stop your opponent, rather than have this card as an extender. And then instead of things like Blackluster Soldier, you can run other big boss monsters such as Borreload Dragon, Borrow Sword, Bomber Dragon, or Zero Boros. I think Soldier of Chaos is better. It takes some stress off your combos because it's a link 3 as opposed to these being a link 4, so it doesn't take as many resources to use, and in terms of attack it's just as strong, and in terms of effect it's just as strong. So yeah, I like this card. I think it's more versatile, but that's up to you too. And also, instead of just the confits, you can also perhaps run maybe more starters such as Terraforming, Rotar, and Foolish Burial. However, I didn't think they were necessary, and I really like the Chester Confit. I think it helps get your play started by giving you cards on the board. So let's get into some action now, and I'll show you how this deck works. Okay, so here we go, and in today's video we're playing against Shadownin again, who features the second time on my channel this week, because he was playing his Mech Knight Dinosaur deck against my True Dracos on Monday, so second time we're seeing him. I'm not assuming he's playing the same deck, but let's get to the commentary now and talk about what we're trying to do here with our deck, and how Spiral plays in terms of playing through Disruption, or playing an actual real game. So we first start with Mistress of Souls, and like I said, our first primary goal with this deck is to get to double Helix, and to do that we need to get 2 Spiral monsters on the board. Now, we use Magician Soul's effect to send our Master Plan to the graveyard, so we can bring her back later on and summon her from the graveyard to the field to get her to get more of our extenders. Now, I'm trying to do this combo as fast as possible. You should really practice these combos offline before you go into an online game with this, because you haven't really got time to hesitate or make mistakes, because that 3-minute time limit will eat up and will be very difficult to deal with. So now we're gonna you've used Wear Off Thou, and we've used it to search out Spiral Gear Drone, and we now normal summon Spiral Gear Drone, which lets us look at the top 3 cards of my opponent's deck, and we can see that he is still playing Mech Knight Dinosaurs. So you have to very quickly decide which card do you not want your opponent to have. And I decided to give my opponent Miscellaneousaurus as a top card of his deck. I don't really want him having Conductor Tyranno, and I don't really want him having Blue Sky to get more free cards from his deck, and also shuffling his deck. So I went for Miscellaneousaurus, although that could be a mistake. Now, Foolish Burial Goods is going to send our copy of Spiral Mission Rescue to the graveyard, and then we use Rescue's graveyard based effect to summon back Master Plan. And Master Plan will come to the field, and ideally you want to summon her in defense because she's got a thick booty with that 2800 defense. So now that she's on the field, we are going to be able to use her effect to be able to add another Spiral Mission card, and this time we went and added a copy of Spiral Mission Assault. You should always kind of think ahead with these cards. Always think, do you have a Spiral monster that you want to summon from your hand? Then get Assault. If you have one that's in the grave, you then want to go get Rescue. And I was actually regretting getting the Assault here because I was thinking, man, I have nothing I want to be able to summon, or that I could summon from my hand, so this card might go to waste. Now that Master Plan left the field, we are going to be able to add one Spiral monster and one copy of Spiral Resort from our deck to our hand. And so we added a copy of Super Agent and also a copy of Resort. And because we know what's on top of my opponent's deck, we are now going to use Double Helix's effect, call monster cards, reveal that it's Miscellaneousaurus, and be able to add add a Spiral card from our deck or graveyard and either put it to our field or add it to our hand. And so we are now going to go access to Quick Fix, and therefore part 1 of your goals is complete. We have Master Plan in the graveyard, we have Double Helix on the field, and we have access to Quick Fix. That's what you need to get the rest of this deck going, so mission accomplished there, gentlemen. When Quick Fix is summoned, he allows us to get a copy of a Spiral Gear card, and we just got Spiral Gear Big Red, and we're going to use its Monster Reborn style effect to bring back Master Plan. And as I said to you in the tutorial part of this video, Spiral Master Plan and Quick Fix are not hard once per turns, so anytime they're on the field, we are going to get more cards. So Master Plan gets us another copy of a Spiral Mission card, and so now we have the Spiral Mission Rescue in our hand, and now we need to find a way to get these cards to the graveyard. I activate Spiral Resort, and whenever you play Spiral Resort, you always need to think, do you need to search out your Sleeper or your Spiral Gear Last Resort? Spiral Gear Last Resort is searchable by Quick Fix, so that's not its highest priority, but Sleeper can only really be searched out using Double Helix or your Spiral Resort, so you really always want to save it to add Sleeper. So because we already had Sleeper in our hand, I went for Last Resort. Now, at this point, because we've summoned more than 5 times, I generally, at this point, like to go for Appaloosa. You could go Appaloosa a little bit earlier, but I kind of took a risk there. And the reason why you have to make Appaloosa early on is because your opponent might have the card Nibiru the Primal Being, and you don't want your opponent to just summon Nibiru and break your board. Now, if your opponent does summon Nibiru, it's not the end of the world. You can still play through Nibirus with this deck because it has so many extenders, but you don't want it to happen if possible, because you want to make as strong as board as possible. So we sent our cards to the graveyard, and now we're going to use our Spiral Super Agent in our hand to summon itself to the field and put more Spiral cards on the field. So here comes Super Agent, and realistically at this point, we are kind of in the home stretch here. We've got our Appaloosa, which is our main negate, and it's got 3 monster effect negates on the board, and now we just need to get a copy of a Super Agent onto the board. So what we're going to do is going to keep on trying to use as many effects as possible, and we're going to bring back Quick Fix and use Quick Fix to add another card, so we get another form of disruption, which is Spiral Gear Utility Wire, which is going to allow us to do disruption during our opponent's turn. And then we're going to take these 2 cards and put them into the graveyard to make our second copy of Double Helix. We're not using their is an effect, we just want it on the board because its name is going to become Agent, and we want Quick Fix to go back into the graveyard. We don't want him on the board at all. So before we wrap up this turn, because we are running out of time, I'm now going to turn the Magician's Souls that we summoned earlier into Linkuriboh. And Linkuriboh is a very nice complement for Appaloosa, because a lot of people like to try to attack Appaloosa to stop her from negating your cards, but Linkuriboh can protect her from that happening. Now there are more cards I can activate in the graveyard. I could activate the other copy of Assault, summon more cards to the field, but we are running out of time, and we need time to be able to summon Sleeper, because that is very, very important that you get Sleeper on the board. So I quickly looked at my graveyard and I tried to think, what cards am I not going to need anymore? And you're not going to need the other Spiral Rescue, you're not going to need the other Spiral Super Agent, and I believe I got rid of 1 copy of Big Red as well, so they're gone now. So we banished those 3, and now we're going to equip Last Resort to our Sleeper, and so our combo is essentially complete. And this is the basic board of when you're going first for spirals. However, we have a couple more extenders as well. We also have a Call by the Grave in our hand. We have a DD Crow in our hand. We have Utility Wire on the field. So let's count how many forms of interruption we have overall. By the way, you got to take 2,000 burn. And yes, we're going to pay the cost. During the end phase, you have to pay a cost to keep SPYRAL Resort on the board. And we want that so that our cards can't be targeted. So, let's talk about how this board looks. We have interruptions. We have Appaloosa with 3 monster negates. So that's 1, 2, 3 interruptions. Link Kuriboh can protect one of our cards from being destroyed by battle. That's 4 interruptions. Sleeper can destroy 2 of our opponent's cards. 5 and 6. We have protection with resort and protection with last resort. That's not an interruption, but it's protection, so it's always nice. We have utility wire face down. That's 7 interruptions, which can take any card on the field that opponent controls and put it back on top of their deck. We have Call by the Grave on the field. That's 8 interruptions. We have DD Crow in our hand. That's 9 interruptions. We have 9 different ways to interrupt our opponent's turn right now, and they have 6 cards. Who do you think is more likely to win? And that is what SPYRAL is all about. And this is not unique. This is what combo decks try to do. This is what Pendulum tries to do. This is what Lunalight tries to do. But those cards can't generate as many interactions as this deck can. Whereas those cards have to rely on things more like Floodgate style effects, like Abyss Dweller or True King of Calamities. This deck can just provide you with more interruptions. Is why it's such a powerful deck. And it's a really fun deck too. It's good going first, it's good going second. So let's now do some interruptions. My opponent has started off with Mech Knights, and he has summoned that Purple Nightfall. And I do not want him using this Purple Nightfall effect to get more cards from his deck, because he will be able to keep his Purple Nightfall. It's just a bad look if we allow it to go through. So we use one of our Appaloosa negates on that. And now he discards Miscellaneous Saurus. And Miscellaneous Saurus has the ability to make it so that I cannot affect any of his Dino cards with card effects for the rest of his turn. I can't allow that to happen because I want to affect his dinosaur cards. So Appaloosa is going to negate that too. So Appaloosa only has 1 more negate, because every time she negates a card, she loses 800 attack. So we only have 1 more negate on Appaloosa. So we've gone down to from 9 interactions. We have 7 interactions left, and he has 4 cards left, and he's going to activate another Miscellaneous Saurus. And this time I'm going to say, you know what, I'm keeping the Appaloosa last negate. Let's banish this one with Call by the Grave and get rid of Miscellaneous Saurus. So bye Miscellaneous Saurus, that's going to get banished, and any more copies of Miscellaneous Saurus will be negated until the end of my opponent's next turn. We are down to 6 interactions, and my opponent only has 4 cards left, or 3 cards. He plays Gold Sarcophagus. I'm not afraid of Gold Sarcophagus, go ahead. If you're playing a dinosaur deck, I kind of know what you're going to go for, and that is going to be to banish Giant Rex. And Giant Rex, when it is banished, automatically allows itself to be summoned to the field. I'm not afraid of that at all, so we're not going to waste one of our negates on that. And now Gold Sarcophagus is gone, and he's got a Giant Rex on the board, but I'm not worried about a Giant Rex. So now we are down to 2 cards. We have 6 interactions left. He has 2 cards left. We are still in a game-winning position here. So it is the end of the main phase. Shadow Ninja is going to try to attack, and now he is going to use his Giant Rex to attack into Appaloosa. But Link Kuriboh is there to protect it from being destroyed. And so Appaloosa, we're going to turn Giant Rex to 0 attack. And that's, going to protect our Appaloosa. So, let's see what he tries to do next. I'm going to assume that he's going to want to get rid of Appaloosa. So he's going to probably try to attack it with our Mech Knight Purple Nightfall. So Mech Knight Purple Nightfall is going to attack. And at this point, I'm going to use SPYRAL Gate Utility Wire. And now we're going to take this Purple Nightfall and we're going to put it back on top of his deck. And this is really awesome. This mechanic is called spinning. It used to be really popular in the olden days, old days where we used to play things like Riser, the Monarch. But now we don't really see spinning. But putting cards on top of your opponent's deck stops them from accessing any good cards for their next draw, because the next card they're going to draw, we already know what it is, and we are going to be ready for it. And so with that, at that point, Shadow Ninja decides to surrender. He can't play through this many disruptions. And so, yeah, guys, I hope you've enjoyed looking to SPYRAL. This is a very high level deck, and if you want to start winning and you want to up your level, I implore you, learn this deck. It's a very fun deck to play, but it is very difficult too. Definitely not for beginners. But I love playing this deck. I think it's very enjoyable, and I'm probably going to play it again in the future. So thank you guys as always for tuning in. I'll see you soon.